What you're about to experience are my opinions and truths. I'm suggesting these possibilities for you to consider, enabling you to come up with your own conclusions. All right, ladies and gentlemen, fellow decoders around the world, wherever you may be, my name is Logan. I'm going to be your tour guide for this presentation on the topic Dogstar. Little grumble in there, Dogstar Decoded. So ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, I'm going to jump right into this presentation. Of course, you know what this is all about, the Dogstar, known as the mighty star Sirius. Are you serious? I'm absolutely serious. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is where I'm going to start, and I wasn't even looking for this information. As I have been saying for so long now, it found me. Me being the conduit, the channeler here, just following the trail, listening to the voice in my head. This is what I found today. I didn't even know this band existed. I mean, I'm a fan of Keanu Reeves, but I'm so out of the mainstream. They've been around forever, and I didn't even know they exist. But here we are, Dogstar, and this is how I found this presentation. This is what we're going to talk about here. Did you know that there was a band named Dogstar and Keanu Reeves was in there? And you could, the origin. There's so much content that I could have provided for this presentation. Just the fact that Robert and Keanu meet in a supermarket again. So when we look at this origin and this inception, these gentlemen were destined to meet. They didn't have a choice. So this is more of the scripted reality that I've been talking about. We could have went into the Detroit Red Wings. That's what Robert Mailhouse was wearing. And then Keanu Reeves, being a hockey fan, approached him. I could have went gangbusters on that. But ladies and gentlemen, we're going to jump right into this. Here's their website. I'm going to leave this in the video description. You can go and support this band. Maybe you can go see them on tour. I think they are touring soon. But here are the three band members. The present band members right now, Robert and Keanu, are the two men that met in a grocery store. And then they added Brett after the fact. But these are the three band members currently right now. Robert, Brett, and Keanu. And so here are their birthdays. And I'm going to just simply add them up. Here it is. Now remember, their name for their band is Dogstar. So 22, 13, and 2. 37. Where do we go from here? Right to numerology. Right to that. Now, how do you explain this? And again, if you're thinking, well, they purposely chose Dogstar. Yeah. But they added this gentleman after the fact. He is their main lead singer. And these two met in the grocery store. There's so many layers to this. Maybe, just maybe, 22 and 2. When we go to numerology, that's 24. Maybe, just maybe. There's that. So, that's definitely something we can observe. Keanu and Robert meet in the grocery store. Their birthdays add up to 24. Okay, cool. I can buy that. But then they add on this dude. after the fact. And then you add it in and you get eye in the sky. So ladies and gentlemen, no, they were destined to meet. And the idea came to them through the thoughts in their head, which are obviously coming from Sirius, the Dogstar. Let's keep going on this right here. So, okay, I'm like, all right, well, let's chase this rabbit and let's go study some Alan Parsons. Since this band had an album in 1982 called Eye in the Sky. Started off with Sirius, the song, and then it segued into Eye in the Sky. Song number 2. Song number 1, song number 2. That's going to give you Ra. So, of course, what am I going to do? I'm going to look at their birthdays, of course. And Eric's the guy who actually sang Eye in the Sky. It was his voice that sang the song. But you get March 18th and December 20th. That gives you a 38. And 38, when you combine it with, because this is what I did, I'm like, well, these guys obviously have the album. And then these guys have the Dogstar name. So let's combine all the birthdays together. So here it is. I have Eric and Alan in the background, shaded in. So here are all 5 men that are tied to Dogstar and Eye in the Sky. And of course, we're just going to add up their birthdays, right? And we get the number 75. 75 is going to reduce, the root number of 75 is 3. And the root, just so we can be clear, the root of Ra is 3. That's what the root is. So the question I will leave you is Sirius Ra? There are many outlets to it, but could Sirius be Ra? 75, let's continue on with this. What does 75 go into? Well, the gematria of Lucifer. This is, of course, what the Vatican sings to. Singing to Lucifer. The 75. I mean, you know, when we go to numerology again, and we go to this, history repeats itself. 75. So could it be, folks, that Ra is the Dogstar and Lucifer is Ra, which is the Dogstar? Now, I'm not the first person to say this. There are many other people that have stated that Sirius is Lucifer, the shining one, because that's what Sirius means. That's what Lucifer means, the bright morning star, the shining one. So there's a huge connection to this, but when you start to bring mainstream into this, well, then you start to tie it together and you can see how there's destiny here with these men. Right here, the 75. So I covered this in my Tower of Ra. I covered this in the Watchtower Decoded. I showed how all the Bibles, well, I shouldn't say all, I don't want to use absolutes, but I showed the Latin Vulgate. I showed the Codex Sinaiticus, the Greek. I showed the New World, I showed the King James Version. I showed the Protestant Bible. I showed that they all are worshiping Ra. That's what the code says. And you could see that through the Egyptian aspects, Ra is also Re. And coincidentally, there are 2 elements in the periodic table that are linked to Ra and Re. And one of them is the 75th element, called rhenium, the repeat. And rhenium is 28, which matches Lucifer, 28. And the 75 protons matches Halil, which means the shining one. That's why the Catholic Church moved it into Lucifer, the shining one. Ra. So there's a very strong connection here, which we showed during the Tower Decoded, the Watchtower, that Ra is Lucifer. And you get Jesus in there, the light of the world, and all this stuff. But Sirius now moves into this. Are you serious? I'm dead serious. that Sirius moves into this. So what about their birth cards? We did their birthdays. What about their birth cards? 5 of diamonds twice. Eric and Robert get the 5 of diamonds. Brett, the 5 of clubs. Keanu Charles Reeves, the 9 of diamonds. And Alan Parsons, the Jack of hearts. I will say, folks, that Keanu Charles Reeves, the 9 of diamonds, and Robert, the guys that came together to form Doghouse, they get the 95 or the 59. And there are 59 rosaries in Catholicism. We know 59 is tied to Prison Planet. We know that 59 is tied to the Game of Life. And then the 95 is tied to Americium, which is one half of the I Am. We know that the Jack of Hearts is the birth card for the actor that they casted to play the architect in The Matrix. And Keanu Charles Reeves was the guy that went and met the architect. So it's a very small world, folks. Because why is it a very small world? Because we live in a scripted reality. These gentlemen didn't have a choice of meeting and joining and singing. We're being used as human beings through all these placements. So when we add all these up, all 5 band members that are part of the Dogstar and the Eye in the Sky, we get the 126. And we just go to chemistry. And the 53rd element is what? It's the I, of course. Iodine. This is its average weight, 126.904. It's going to be isotope 127. But it's the eye in the sky. Not another coincidence, but more mathematical precision, more decoding precision here with the cards, alchemy, mathematics, and birthdays in the Gregorian calendar. That's why it doesn't matter if we moved into the Gregorian calendar and people think that that's not the right calendar. It is the right calendar because they didn't create it. The supernatural created it. Not man. Man just being used as an instrument to create it. All right, so moving along. This was a huge humdinger here. This is the humdinger of the presentation. So as I often do, I like to spell words with the periodic table. Makes them very special. And you can't spell it out with the typical EYE. But you can spell it out with the I. I in the sky. And we know that the I is tied to these 5 people who sang or are listed as the Dogstar. I in the sky, right there, so spelled out. And the I is the iodine, the 53rd element. 53 is, and just so we know, we'll do this on the fly with the mathematics. 53 for iodine is the 16th prime number. And 16 is tied to Sirius. Are you serious? Dead serious. See? All right, so let's add these up. Let's add up these. These are all the averages now. Gives us 853.764. It's going to give us a very big clue here. So what is the 853? Is that a big deal in mathematics? Keep your eye over here. Yup. 853 is the 147th prime number. And what's that 147 if you've been paying attention? Well, it's tied to Lucifer. According to Manly P. Hall, Lucifer's numbers are that 1, that 4, that 7, that 7, that 4, and that 1. So we have a very, very strong connection between Sirius, the Dogstar, the Shining One, Lucifer, and Ra. But I skipped over and I wanted to show you here because the 3 band members, what they go by professionally, gives you the 147. So looking here, folks, come on. Are we stretching anything here? Well, no, because I've done this how many times now? And a lot of you great decoders have done this. The 147 right here. And again, you postulate that these 2 guys meat in a grocery store and they add Brett after the fact. I don't know when they named themselves Dogstar, but did they know this? And I'm 100% certain they didn't know this. No. I'm 100% certain they didn't. But they didn't need to, because again, just like I am being used to show you these layers of our reality through the esoteric and through this is the code that runs this reality. You don't even have to try, folks. You just got to find out what your passion is through your numerology, your astrology, and all that stuff, and just move towards it and be in line with it. And that's exactly what these three guys have done. And how many times have I shown Keanu Charles Reeves the scripted reality through the Matrix, Carrie Ann Moss and their birth cards being the 59, Carrie Ann Moss being the 5 of clubs. So we have a very strong connection here. I think a connection now, I think we're there. I think that we're there. Like, again, it's not new that people say Lucifer is Sirius, but now it's obvious. That's what it is. And again, if Lucifer is such a bad thing, how is it able to run people? How is it able to script this reality this way? From pastors to churches to music to mainstream to me. How is it able to do that? I'll leave that up to you. I'm just giving you these things to think about. But the tail of the tape is in the numbers and the connections here. And this right here, folks, is just a huge humdinger that, again, these guys did not create through this. No. I just 100% sure of that. So let's talk about some more layers here. Let's get into the Canis Major, the constellation that holds Sirius. It has 8 main stars, but it has 32 visible ones. And this is where we once again bring in numerology and chemistry. Game Master is 32. I mean, the sun is made of hydrogen, and hydrogen is 32. So, like, we could easily say that, because I've been saying the long time, Lucifer is the sun. Well, yeah, I didn't have the right sun, but I did have the right sun. Just not our sun, but it's Sirius the sun. And it's the scorching one, sulfur, fire, brimstone, the tower, the scorching one. This is why you have the heliacal rising of the Nile River in September during the time of the Egyptians. Sirius, which is also tied to Shiva, the destroyer. Right? So it's very, very interesting when you layer chemistry with what's been shown, which what we can see, and these words through numerology that I just don't think there's any doubt about it. I really, really don't. Now, what's fascinating about the 16, besides the fact that Sirius is 16, is that if you go to this scripture in the New Testament, in the last book of the Bible, you're going to get the Battle of Armageddon. This is the first time that they mention gathering the kings together to the place that they call Armageddon. And the clue was what chapter and verse it was, or is. 16 verses 16. Now, if you put on your thinking cap here, there's no stretching anything, because 16 is how many pieces are on one side and 16 is how many pieces are on the other. That's what this looks like. And what do you get when you take 16 and 16? Well, you get 32, of course. So the black and white, and this is why now the confirmations with Masonry, why the black and white checkerboard floor, and it's obvious the 2 pillars and the thing in the middle, the G star and all that, that's obviously Sirius. Hello. That's now confirmed with these layers. Not that I needed to confirm it. There are tons of people that have already confirmed it. So yeah, I'm way behind, but I'm confirming it through the layers of numerology, chemistry, theology. So there's nothing wrong with masonry. When you scrape away all of the programming that has come with it, they're after the same thing you're after, which is knowledge and wisdom. But this is a huge humdinger right here. And I don't think there's any doubt about it that this chessboard represents the Battle of Armageddon, and the 32 pieces that are on the board represent the Game Master, and the Game Master obviously can be linked to Sirius. Can be linked to Sirius. So let's get into some other layers of this. We're now going to get into the constellation Alpha Canis Majoris, or the star, I should say. The Latinized. So many clues from Latin, folks. Wow. You know, the church was built on Rome, or Roma, which is Latin. The largest sector of the Abrahamic religions is Christianity, and the dominating sector is Catholicism. And what they say, you follow, because you use the Bible and that's where it came from. So this is the Latinized spelling of Sirius. Alpha, the Alpha Predator, Canis Majoris. And that's 151. And it just so happens through chemistry that the 63rd element has that 151. And it's in Europe. It's called europium. And where is Rome? It's in Europe. So this is how big this is. And the 63 for the protons are tied to this word right here, Luciferum. This right here is from, I did a decode on the zodiac. And I went through the Mazzaroth from the book of Job, and then I did several of the spellings and the translation from the Latin Vulgate. Instead of Mazzaroth right here, this is the Greek, but instead of the Mazzaroth from the Hebrew, they move it into the Latinized word Luciferum, which is, what is the numerology of that? 63. And the 63 matches this. The only element on the periodic table that has the word Europe on it. And Rome is in Europe, where Latin is, and Italian. And it's called the morning star. So they move the Mazzaroth from perhaps meaning constellations of the zodiac, they move it into the aspect of Canis Major from the zodiac, and the influence of the zodiac from the Dogstar. How about that? There are no coincidences with this, folks. Now you have absolute confirmation with this. When you get into the 88 constellations from Ptolemy's 48, this is the finalized 88 constellations, and 88 is Ra. And these are not specifically handpicked to put them in specific orders so they can try to get it with some of these number outcomes. These are all in alphabetical order. And I have it circled. What is Canis Major? 14. In the Latin, folks, it matches the 88. That's what it matches. And the 88 matches the words peace and evil, shalom and ra, in the Hebrew Bible in Isaiah 45 verses 7. Shalom and ra give us the 88. That's what it gives us, folks. So we have a huge, it's not just a one-stop shop. Obviously, there's other influences, the disciples of the 12, and then you have all these other aspects. It's not just the ones on the ecliptic, folks. There are many constellations that are influencing our world. That's what I would think. I would think that's the truth. But, it's very, very fascinating that 14, again, being in alphabetical order, is tied to this. It's also tied to this. It's also tied to this. And 1-4, whoops, when you say 1-4, you're going to get 40. 40 is tied to indoctrinaire, indoctrinate. So these are huge humdingers here. Let's keep going with this. What about the Greek spelling of it? Sirius. Sirius comes from, it says it's derived from Greek. I don't know, like I'm just regurgitating this, right? This is what you would think, okay, well, Greek, it's old, but it goes all the way back to Sopdet and in the Egyptian times. I mean, if I go to that, folks, let me just digress. This is what it was in the Egyptian. It was called Sopdet 31, which is tied to the word absolute, which is tied to the word snakehead. Sopdet. But when we look at the Greek, what do the Greeks have to say about it? See, again, it's all code. So we got to connect something to this numerology. So this is the 100 from the ancient Greek. What can I use? What can I attach to the 100? Well, it's fermium on the periodic table. That'll connect to Shemesh and the sun, but it connects to Hebrew right here. So there's this amazing show that I've watched 3 times. It's called The 100. And if you've seen this show, it was about, the world kind of having a nuclear bomb go off, and it was uninhabitable for some time. So all these humans are up on an ark in space. And maybe the ark is the zodiac wheel. And then they send these prisoners down to Earth on a whim, hoping that the nuclear energy is dissipated and they can survive. But you see, folks, in Hebrew, this is where the original idea comes from, the Ark of the Covenant. Again, is the Ark the zodiac wheel? This is what they postulate, the Ark spinning up in space. It was in the shape of a donut. Sirius controlling that. Well, this is a huge big deal here, these connections. I know they're different languages, but again, in bringing mainstream into this, and if you know what this show's about, well, it gets really fascinating. So I'm going to go back to this. We're going to finish with this, folks. This is like advanced decoding. So if you haven't been here for a while, if you haven't been paying attention, this may kind of go over your head a little bit, but just do the best you can to follow along. I'm going to go back to spelling out eye in the sky with the periodic table. And as I have often done so many times using these average atomic weights, we just take the right and left hand side of the decimal, the masculine and feminine side of the decimal, and we add them up to get another clue. What clue can we get here? Well, we get the 1,617. Now that can be added up. 16 and 17 is 33. 33 is the capital letter G in the Francis Bacon. 30, that's tied right to the middle of Masonry and what they're pledging to, which obviously is Sirius. But when we go to this chart right here, and again, that's why I'm saying if you haven't been paying attention, this may be a little bit new for you. But a long time ago, this graphic right here is probably 5 years old, maybe 6 years old. And what I did was I took the periodic table and I flipped it. And I put the higher numbers at the top and the lower ones all the way at the bottom. And I meshed them with the chakras. And since there's 18 rows, you have to do it twice, including the light and the dark. Okay, the 7 chakras, including the 8 and the 9. Twice, you have to do that. And this is the way they're ordered anyway, keeping them in their respected orders, with the noble gases over here to the far right, etc., etc. And what I wanted to do to show you how it's tied to this. Is there a row that can signify Sirius, the Dogstar? Well, I'm going to narrow it down to this row right here. Notice that it's row 14, which is tied to the dog, which is obviously the mirror of God. And you know what that 374 is going to link to. It's tied to the zodiac wheel. It's tied to the Last Supper and all 13 men sitting at the table. I've already gone over this. The Beast part 2. Canis Major is the 14th constellation. So this is row 14 now. So this is a huge synchronicity. So I'm going to just simply add these up. I'm going to add the molar masses of all these elements, their average weights. Also pointing out that, this in the chakras, it's blue. It's a row that's blue, just like this, just to match the Sirius, okay? Simple connections, but they're there. But when we add up the molar masses, look at what number we get. 1617.884. The same outcome that I got right here by adding up eye in the sky. Now, is this trying to fit a square peg in a round hole? Or is there something to this? Well, keep in mind, folks, these elements are big time elements. Carbon, the king of all elements, number 6. That's tied. What can you synchronize with 6? The third eye. Eye in the sky, the third eye, tied to the pineal gland. The pineal gland controls the wake and sleep cycles. The wake and sleep cycles is light. Now you get Lucifer and the light bringer. We're playing out the light game. So we can connect that to carbon. Carbon is the 666 element. 6 protons, 6 neutrons, 6 electrons. Then you go to the 14th element, which is the dog or God. Silicon is where you get Silicon Valley, which is technology, the advancement of technology, which is tied to the future. Then you move into the 32, and the word Game Master is 32. There are 32 visible stars in the constellation Canis Major, which is where Sirius is at, in this constellation. Then you move into the number 50. 50 is tied to Tin and the Tin Man in Wizard of Oz. Wizard of Oz coming out in 1939. Lucifer's numerology in Hebrew is 39. 50 is the Tin Man because it's looking for its heart. Spirit looking for its heart. There were 50 Bitcoin mined. 50 is a big deal. Tin is the merger of worlds. It's also tied to Zeus. So we can't forget about those. 68. 68 is tied to the 2 world wars. The numerology of World War I and World War II, both of them add up to the number 68, including the invasion of Ukraine. 68. I make peace and create evil. 68 is tied to Gematria, the killing name. 68 is. 68 is tied to the 5 books of the Torah. Erbium. Then you get into the element lead. Now we connect this to Saturn, of course, yes. But these are all in this row that match up to Sirius. 82. And of course, lead is matter, right? Uranium 238 lands all the way down to lead 206. That's what it decays down into. Lead is what we become. These are just clues here now. And then fermium 100, that's the numerology of Sirius in Greek. And then finally you get to the 114, and there are things in there that I don't really have memorized yet. But the 114 obviously is going to reduce down to the number 6, which goes all the way down to the bottom here. This is why they're all synchronized this way. But when you add up the molar mass of all of these, you get a match of spelling out eye in the sky. So I just ran down all of these. Could this be the row of Sirius? Well, the next thing I decided to do was add up all the numbers on these elements, the neutrons, protons, and electrons over here. I decided to add them all up, and this is the number that we got. I'm sorry, excuse me, the The molar mass, excuse me. That was all of them, excuse me. That was the neutrons, protons, and electrons. This was just the molar mass. Just the molar mass here. Okay, so when you add up the molar mass, you get 1,151. And I go to mathematics to get the confirmation. What can I branch off? Where can I go with this as a decoder, as a code breaker? What can I do with this 115 for all 7 elements here that seemingly are tied to Sirius? Well, it's the 190th prime number. And I'm just going to go right back to chemistry. What element has the 190? Osmium. The Wizard of Osmium. And it's tied to the word therion from the original New Testament, the word for beast. Osmium has several isotopes, not just that 190. But it's tied to the zodiac wheel, which I've shown already 1,000,000 times over. When we go to this right here, the 189, just so you can see. Here's the 189 right there. The 190 right there. So this is isotope 190, but the weight they give you is a couple digits short. The atomic mass, the 189. And you can see that the clues that they give you here for the natural abundances. And again, are they really sitting down and mapping this out before they put it out onto the public internet? Because what is 26? It's tied to this word right here, source. That's what it's tied to. It's tied to the word source, folks. It's tied to the word Adam and Eve. This is the Wizard of Oz. This is the operating system. So the operating system tied to the beast, which is tied to the zodiac wheel, is tied to this row, which is tied to Sirius. Through these numbers, the 1617, right there. So again, you see, God's a mathematician, whatever that could be, whatever that is. But this decode was on the Dogstar. And I'm not here, listen, I want to be very crystal clear. I'm not here to convince you on what it is that you want to adopt as your truth. All that matters is what you end up adopting as your truth. I'm just here to present you information. What you do with it is going to be completely up to you. But this is what the research is leading me towards, what I'm connected to, and what I'm being influenced by. Is the Dogstar, which obviously now is seemingly tied to Lucifer and Ra. And that's what we got, folks. So I would love to hear your comments. Keep them coming. It's all about love in here. If you have something to add on Sirius, you know, again, the things that I've talked about here tonight, some of these things like Lucifer being the shining one, the bright one, and I'm not the first person to say this. I mean, there are many people that have said this over the years that I've even heard. I got to find the connections myself, and I've found them now. And now the connections to me are absolutely undeniable. These connections. Really. The eye in the sky. And now when you hear that song by Alan Parsons Project, well, I mean, the band members, if you've ever seen the videos, they're making the diamonds on shape. That's what the pyramid's all about. They make that diamond shape. And the connections to this. And so now we have a lot of confirmation that I think there's no doubt about it now. I think the information will start to open up that Ra is Sirius, or at least it's tied to it, and so is Lucifer, Halil, the shining one, the bright morning star. And that means Jesus is too. And as I have been saying for a long time, that we're living in a Ponzi scheme. You know, even if you go to that, if I just take that, and we spell out Ponzi scheme, that's 53. And 53 is the 16th prime number, which is what? Sirius. You know, something I left out I wanted to show you. Here are the 5 elements, or the 7 elements that make up that row. For Sirius, it's the 189. Those 7 elements right there, when you spell them all out, that's 189. And if you go back to Osmium, there's the 189, which gives you isotope 190. We just go back to the 190. And there's the 190 found from the 1151, and the 1151 was from adding up all the atomic masses of all 7 of these elements. So we not only get the numerology, getting just 1 digit away from the 190, it's the 189, but it is the 189th isotope. Sirius. So now the Osmium and the Wizard of Oz leads to Sirius, and the influence and markers on the zodiac wheel are here. They're there, folks. I mean, it's just pretty crystal clear now. But my final answer is that we live in a Ponzi scheme. That's what we live in. And that means it's all Maya and the grand illusion, which is why that presentation just came out. It's on the Patreon, the grand illusion. It was a huge humdinger of a video because it showed that we're living in this grand illusion, and all these things that we're breaking down and decoding, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if you think you got it right, or you think that I'm wrong, or you're right. It doesn't matter. It's all an illusion anyway. It's all just part of code that makes up this reality, which is the operating system. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I'm rambling now, and I'm going to let you go. Thank you, each and every one of you, for all your participation, all your support over all these years. I really greatly appreciate you. Sending you tons of love from Mexico. My name is Logan for Decode Your Reality. Until next time, we will see you later.